Well, we're in the Black Occult Think Tank.
That's right.
Is what it is. Black Occult Think Tank. And the title is The Afterlife, Through the Gates of Death.
Wow.
And we're going to kick it up with a little bit of Through the Gates of Death. We'll go to the origin of this death. We'll go to kick it around with different concepts of what's going to happen after we die, or what's going to happen after we transform.
Right.
And no questions are too big. So, are too big or too small. So right now what I'm going to do is just give a shout out and report. Give me my alcohol. You can give me the smaller bottle. We'll spit to the...
Is there anything in there?
Yeah, well, that shit is gone. Oh, shit, I forgot. I'm amongst the Negroes. And certain things about death and different things. So we're going to have Brother Panic here that has a lot of the questions written down, and he's going to say some questions. And feel free to jump in at any time. Feel free to jump at any time, and we'll see what it is. This is interesting here because death is a balance out of the slavery of reincarnation for a few minutes. You see what I'm saying? If you didn't have death, you couldn't have life, or you couldn't have a reciprocal type of energy. You would have to have a certain balance. And it is the balance out of the grip of certain entities that put us down here for slaves. We'll get into all that type of thing and all of that also too. You see, now it's interesting because if you are on the other side of death, you know that the living world is death. And somehow, if you reincarnate from that world into this world again, the others mourns the death of you in their world and the birth of you in this world. Everything is reversed. You see what I'm saying? That's why the Egyptians say foolish are the long-lived. That's why you don't see a lot of old people on the monuments. You know what I'm on the monuments and stuff like that. No, but then again, that's not really saying anything because these people had the knowledge to regenerate their cells so they could live 200-300 damn years. You know what I'm saying? Especially we talk about pre-dynastic on back. When Manetho said, he said, well, there's roughly about 8,000 years of gods and 8,000 years of pre-dynastic and 8,000 years of dynastic. We said 3,000 years of pre-dynastic and another 5,000 years of dynastic. He said roughly about 8,000 to 9,000 years. And they asked him, well, who used to rule before then? He said that was a whole bunch of gods used to rule. Well, that was a time, even in the point before we became, even the point when we first got trapped into the physical, for thousands of years we could regenerate ourselves and live as long as we want to. Now we know this is because as late as 18th century and early 19th century India, who kept some of these particular mystery schools open, they got accounts of people living 300 years old and only looking like they're in their 40s. And they had people that would live this long because they didn't have a great teacher to come behind in the school to lead the school of yogis to the people behind. So that particular teacher had to continue living until they got a teacher adept and suitable enough and astute enough to take over. So he would just have to live until they would get one up to speed. And you see, you know, so they can live up to 300 years just waiting on the suitable teacher. You see, and just regenerating their cells. I should have got the book out there to show you exactly how that works. They got a woman we got in this book that looked like she's 30, but she's 70. She's 71. You see what I'm saying and all, and it was remarkable. So we know that this can actually happen. This could actually happen. But I'm quite sure when the Egyptians say so foolish are the long-lived, they were talking about when you get to the point where you got to walk in a walker and wear a bag on the side, you might well check yourself on out. You see what I'm saying and all, you know. It's bad enough living down this motherfucker young, excuse the expression. Especially in these modern times when everything is based on capitalism. You see what I'm saying and all, you know, based on capitalism. You know, so it's a certain thing. So we're gonna deal with that. We're gonna kick this over to the Brother Panic, but also, like I said, all you brothers can feel free to jump in. But on the other hand, death is the new frontier. In 1999, I did a whole year on death in a lot of the tapes. Death is the new frontier. It is the light in the other room that will come on after this light is extinguished. Right. The only difference is that particular realm hadn't matured to the maximum of what it's going to be. But believe it or not, I know at least from 2001 up to now, the other realm, the underworld, the Amenta, these different mystical names, they have had a series of initiations or a series of what they call, not inaugurations, a series where they have these great parties. What would be the word for that? Where they have these great parties, they have these great ceremonies of a new birthing. And it'll come to me in a minute, but in so many words, they have a...
Like commencement?
No, it's not a commencement. It's like you... the word will come to me. It's a great celebration. Mm-hmm. It's a great celebration. It's a great birthday. It's a great party that is going on, and it'll come to me in a minute and stuff to talk about it in the Book of the Dead, where you just see endless amounts of tables of food.
Tributes, jubilee or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Tributes.
Not tributes, not jubilees. It's another word that encapsulates all of that. Coronations.
Mm-hmm.
Coronations. Coronations.
Right.
And so they have all these coronation parties, and I've seen these parties. I was able to travel in my dreams and see these particular parties on the other side. So what used to be a gloomy and dismal type of terrain is now a beautiful and bright place. So it means that we are standing on the border from looking at this world that is being extinguished, and there's another world on the horizon that is already for us. Right. So they say, I have prepared a kingdom for you. Right. Well, that particular realm is that particular realm has been prepared. Every now and then we bump into these realms. There's a book called Dancing with Dragons by DJ Conway, and they say that these mystical beings do exist, but every now and then we will see these, that mystical realm will bump into this realm. And that's when you get these mystical beings, they call them the chupacabras and stuff down in Mexico and different things like that. The Loch Ness Monster.
Mothman prophecies.
Mothman prophecies. And these particular mystical beings people see. UFOs. It's nothing but seeing these particular light energies from the other side and stuff like that. And this earth is full of mystical things that's been unreported by science, because they're not allowed by the governments of the world to report these strange and bizarre creatures. But there's a book that was put out in the early 1900s. Charles Fort is his name, I think, of mysterious beings and stuff. So dragons, fairies. You get the movie Photographing Fairies. There's another one called A Fairy Tale, A True Story. And also the fairy kingdom, when you see these movies like the Santa Claus, the elves, gnomes, and all of those things are nothing but different aspects of the other world. Now I witnessed one of these coronations in 2002, where I saw these two people come out of the back of a kitchen. It was like we was in some club. So in so many words, the dream realm will fit the terrain or the setting to coincide with based on what you are familiar with in this world, to send a picture. So what would be a coronation or a celebration or a festival in the other world was me sitting in a club with a bunch of black folks, drinking, eating, having a good time. And out of the back of the kitchen, these little short, dwarf, twa people came out of the back of the kitchen, and they had their face their skin was actually made out of what you would call mud cloth or kente cloth and different things that they have in the fabrics of Africa. This was the actual skin. And I don't know whether it was they were sending me a message to say, now you are these otherworldly beings. But it's interesting here, part of, now this is very key, and this is in the mythology and this is in a lot of the esoteric work. You will have things like elves, gnomes, spirits, demons, ghouls, and goblins, and then you get this word. We are connected with the other side, and the Twa people is earlier people enough to even identify with the other side. As a matter of fact, just look at the god Bess. It's a monster-like figure. In so many words, I'm still giving you the images in what this world was able to view these spirits as, but in the other world, it's probably something so pristine and so beautiful until what is grotesque on this world is so pristine and beautiful because we're talking about energy, lights, and it can take on any kind of form.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It can take on any kind of form. You see, and these are things that we must ponder, and it was interesting because I understand now why white folks in the 1980s, especially from the mid-80s on up, the toys that the children the most popular toys would be these hideous forms of monsters. And they had commentary, why would these children want to play with these hideous form of monsters? And it was in toys and all, and then the computer age came, and now that's all in the PlayStations and all of the other computer games of these hideous forms of monsters. They're trying to get them to understand concepts other than the worldly concepts of what we are used to. And too often they give us religion to tell us that that is all evil. And they give their children and preparing them to just think on an other world type basis. So you want to get your mind to the point where the strange becomes the normal. The bizarre becomes your playground. And then you can expand your mind to go beyond just the mundane realm. Just the mundane realm. So these are some things we ponder. These are some things that, we can very well kick around a little bit. So give me some questions right quick.
All right, these questions from America, calling in. The first one you kind of went into, but maybe the second part of the first question first question was, what is death, and why are so many people become scared of it?
Yes. It is said, and even in the book, Dion Fortune's book, Through the Gates of Death, that the Western man is the only person that ever lived that did not understand death. You see, now it's interesting here. So the mystery here is they weren't prepared for death because of the simple fact, the first culture, as them being a civilized people, they were handed religion. Modern religion, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Which basically is moral, mundane, inspirational ceremony, which has no room to teach about death, because the whole plot is to lock you down in a series of fear.
Okay.
To even be ruled by these religions. So therefore, if you're going to have fear, you got to have a place that's dismal, a boogeyman type of zone that no one wants to go to, that would put them on lockdown to even want to deal with the religion. So therefore, the other world has to be the scapegoat.
Right. Oh, God.
It has to be the forbidden zone. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And this is what religions give us. It even says in the Bible, I am a God of the living and not the dead. So it simply tells you that this is a new category of inspirational ceremony that is based on moralism, social behavior, you understand what I'm saying? It has very little to do with the realities beyond the physical world. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why it says, I am a God of the living and not the dead. Well, let's ponder that for a minute. Everything has to die. So that means death is the ultimate terrain, the ultimate plateau.
That's right.
And the God, and this particular God is saying that I'm not a part of that, it means that that God has to be a subordinate deity, masquerading as the supreme being. You understand what I'm saying? You know, because he does not have dominion over that which is outside of the physical body, to the point whereas if you really study the God that they give over to the dead is the very one that we are prone and taught to be afraid of, Satan.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So the angel of death is Satan.
Right.
Or in the early Christian teachings, they even have this name, Uzzah, or Uzzah, the god of death. Look at the word Uzzah, Osiris, which they are right. Osiris is the god of the dead. And you even get this word in early Christian mythology or early Christian teaching of Uzzah, or Uzzah, which saying in actuality, well, if you really want to deal with that, no, you just got to deal with another type of God. Just so happen it has to be deemed the devil in this world, because this particular teaching and this particular phenomenon, a cult, or a cult, is that for fear. And that for a childlike people, to rear them on the lower realm at all times and stuff like that. So that is one of the reasons why you don't know about death in the Western culture. Now let's take the ancient indigenous culture, where they said that the ancient Egyptians and all other ancient cultures used to learn about death from a very early age. And the more and more they learned about death and learned about death until death became a neat place or something to aspire to be. It became, you know what I'm saying? Something that is admired. Now we know you can do that now, because how many people fell in love with the Dracula mythology? That's some cool shit. It has its own form of immortality. You see? So you can take the same motif and understand how they can teach the people in the ancient world, you see what I'm saying, to fall in love with that particular hereafter, because everything is based on funerary rites. You see? And we even have some of those motifs leaping over into the new world when you look at voodoo, where they have all this Baron Samedi, you know what I'm saying, Papagade, and all these particular ones. You can even see how neat it is when you get the movie Sugar Hill. Anybody saw the movie Sugar Hill?
Yeah, the old one.
The one from 1975, or 73. And you saw Baron Samedi's in there, and it's cool, killing up people and all. You be like, I want to hang out with them cats, because those cats still got it going on. The zombies. You see what I'm saying? So, in so many words, we get it in the mythology. It's cool to be dead. You see what I'm saying? Well, in so many words, if you understand that, you could also understand how the ancient people could teach people. How the ancient people could teach people to aspire to look forward to that type of life, and therefore it would be a smooth transition. I'm not saying that they didn't have a certain amount of people that would have a certain emotions when anybody passed out of this world, because it is, it takes a lot to get used to, but still yet, they didn't have this fear of death. You see what I'm saying? And we can even say that now. We see a glimpse of that in the modern culture with the kamikazes in Japan, or with the Arabs, with the although they might be lied to about how many virgins they gonna have, the suicide bomber, still yet it's still based off of a culture that has some remnants of that side of death is not to be feared. And it might be the turning point, and it's going to be the turning point on how these people can say, look, we will never give up this fight. And obviously the Vietnamese had this same thing. Fuck it.
Right.
We are ready to hold out for 20 years, 30 years.
Right.
Because death is nothing to us.
Right.
The only person that's fighting for his life is that particular person that doesn't have the knowledge of the afterlife, and not only have the knowledge for the afterlife, know their upper echelon know that this is all they got.
Right.
They're not going to go beyond this fucking realm.
Right.
And they build a culture conducive to that
That's right.
state.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's not something far-fetched than how we change state going from life to death. Right now, something that's so important to you right now, why is it can be a day later, you can get hit by a car, and a motherfucker be out there giving away your books, giving away your TV, giving away your whole fortune? You got some people that spend 30, 40, 50 years building an empire. And their children come around and get rid of the empire, spend all the money and get rid of the empire in a matter of damn years.
Right.
Matter of months. I know some niggas got a left house, car, bank account, everything. Endless amounts of material things to sustain themselves for the rest of their life. And 6 months later, niggas gonna have shit. You know what I'm saying? Right. Hell, I know a nigga got $100,000 and damn near drank it up in liquor. You see what I'm saying?
Fire.
You see, now the point I'm trying to make here is the state that we're talking about. Where you at on them lectures? Where are you at?
We got about one more good one after this, but
Okay, yeah,
that's
okay,
just what's on
okay.
the paper. That's just what's on
Okay, the state that we're talking about here, two aspects of it. If we did know the ultimate reality, it wouldn't be no fun of trying to get there. It's got to be something, like they say, ultimately it's never been done before. See, I'll give you some of my states of initiation. I was doing some stuff, and I went to a certain level. And I said, well, I completed this. Let me go to the next level. And let me go to the next level. And somewhere around 2001, I started getting in a certain gray area to when somebody was asking me, well, what next? I said, I don't know. It's never been done before. We are creating as we go along. Now, on the other hand, it's kind of hard for us to contemplate what it is to be a true God and goddess. It's about like a dog, and he might say, or let's say if a dog is going to turn to human tomorrow, he might have an idea what it is to be a human. But it might be his idea of a dog's idea to be a human. So let's say a dog say, you know, I don't have the means as a dog to go get Alpo for myself. But when I become a human, I could walk to a refrigerator and have Alpo all the time.
Even a child. Even a child to an adult.
Even a child to an adult.
They don't have any idea.
They don't have idea. They will go, well, you know, when I get grown, I'm going to have ice cream
They think
every day.
They think food coming from the refrigerator.
They think food is coming from the refrigerator. They think a baby is coming from the doctor or whatever. You understand the concept here? So the dog might say, well, I'm an adult, I'm going to have Alpo every damn night from the refrigerator or whatever. Motherfucker, you won't even be eating goddamn Alpo if you are a human. So it's hard to fathom what it is. We can only go by what was left behind of people who have gone to certain levels and left all this, chronicle all this stuff here. But I want to say this before we go further. Anyway, going back, we only can imagine, but I can say this, and this is the greatest explanation that came to me. Take the mythology of Horus, Shiva, Vishnu, Aset, Osar, or anybody that you have admired as a high god. I'll break it down to superheroes. Because Heru and hero is the same thing. So let's say any of your Superman, well, Batman is a human with gadgets and shit.
Right.
Superman, the Hulk, or whoever got these extraordinary superhuman powers. And apply that to yourself. So your God, the one that you have applied, you would want to think that the God that you worship can do damn near anything, because he's God. Well, you take the same motherfucker that you did to conjure up what you thought God was and apply it to yourself. And that's some powerful shit. Goddamn.
Right. I say goddamn.
Rich talks about that all the time. Ashe.
You see what I'm saying? That is that glimpse into the divine is what you're actually experiencing or whatever. You see what I'm saying? I just hope that that motherfucker don't get old on the other side. But then again, on the other hand, I don't see motherfuckers trying to come back here.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So just to give you some type of concept, and it's almost as to say, it can be what your fantasy is. Anything that you ever wanted to do, or ever wanted to be, or anything you ever wanted to do, you understand what I'm saying? You create it in your mind. So you might be a god, but you might have a fleet of Mercedes-Benz.
That's right.
But I'm quite sure a god ain't really worrying about that. Because that's the dog again thinking it's a human. But I'm just trying to say it's whatever it's going to be unimaginable.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
There's going to be two more questions.
Unimaginable from this and off. So give me the other question.
All right, there's going to be two more questions. And
Yeah.
the last one I just came up with, I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are going to want to hear. But before we go to that one more thing that we kind of know is we all know this shit is a phenomenon. And I want you to speak on this a bit. Why are kids scared? Jazz was talking about this, and this is what brought this question. Why are kids, no matter where you at on this planet, scared of the dark?
Okay.
No matter where you go, there's always something.
And you saw it in two movies. The new one is Darkness. They said, well, if we can harness the fears of the children from that primal fears of the children, we can bring on the dark realm. The other one was in the movies Monsters, Inc., where the monster was trying to frighten the child to power up the monster's world from the child's screams. Well, whatever it is a form of the primordial realm that is so alien from this realm until the child is caught, that the child has access to, because it has not long left that primordial realm, that has found itself now in a realm where that is not conducive to the realm, but it's a child that just came from that, so it has a complete memory other than us, where that is closed up. So it is experiencing the dichotomy of this realm, which is not conducive to the darkness of the primordial realm, and it's having its whatever aspect of trauma and how it reacts. It hadn't adjusted. But it's just come from that realm, so it has access to that realm, but it has to adjust to this realm, which this realm is totally alien from that realm.
Now, would it be any demiurge type thing trying to scare him out of the darkness?
It could very well be certain entities that's trying to get them to forget or fear that realm that they just came from, which was set up a lifelong struggle
With shit in the closet, shit around
with the darkness, because this thing follows some people into adulthood.
Right. That's right.
They can only live in the dark if they got somebody living with them.
Need night lights and shit.
Need night lights, or they need a husband, and it happens a lot of times. And here it is too.
TV on.
It happens a lot with women because women are very spiritual. But even with adults, and so you got a lot of grown people scared of the dark.
Right.
So my point here is, but obviously there was some type of entity or some type of demiurge that's trying to get them to be afraid of the dark, because they don't want them to develop a fondness with it.
Of the dark.
Because if you got too many people developing a fondness with it, then they can see the dichotomy of how this motherfucking shit ain't shit. Everybody knew in world people that we got in contact with, and I'll tell you how the whole thing is done. Yes, you will know the people. The only thing that's different is you lose your physical body. Hell, they even got people that's dead that refuse to go to the other realm, do something, there's always something spiritual to come out of that. And one thing is spiritual that happens is this, and I've been talking about this in my lectures and it proved it. When we die, we go to live in the nearest ancestor. You see what I'm saying? And so in so many words, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about in this realm of death. My grandmother died in 1990. She visits all of her grandchildren and all of her children, except me. There's a reason why that is. But two things happen. They notice her presence in the house, but in actuality, she lives in all of their bodies. When I asked her why you didn't come to visit me, she said, because I can't get in the house, as her language is talking about, or on that realm in where you are. Because I have gone to the realm of the gods. You see what I'm saying? And she's down on that level. So I'm explaining to you what has happened that what I initially told you at the beginning of the lecture.
Right.
And so based on where her consciousness was, and based on where I was, she can visit all the rest of my brothers, my two brothers, my mama and all her children, but she can't come where I am, but she can't enter in my body, or she can't enter, or she can stay in the lower aspect who want to stay around the feces.
Right.
But she cannot enter.
Right.
She can't enter in my house or whatever because it's different plateaus. But they do go to live in others. Let me give you an example also about going back to this God thing. If you look in any book, you'll see the God Ganesha, and you see the God Buddha. And one thing about them, they're chubby. And one of her motifs on what she likes is a chubby man, so I guess that's why she's in love with me.
Right.
In the spirit realm, I'm talking about this God, goddess. But one thing that Linda found out when she came with me, that I hardly eat that much food. So obviously my weight is taking on the form of a certain God, an initiation of a God that I've incarnated, and that's the whole Buddha aspect. Right. And one sister said, well, that's your armor, your protection, or whatever the deal he is. Now going back, they go to live inside of the family. We are all one. You see what I'm saying? And so one sister said that she had a guy that died in 76. And she said last summer, she was in love with him when she died. She felt all that over again. I say because he's inside of you also. You see what I'm saying? He's inside of you also. So the movie, Ray, when he went through his drug thing and he got to a certain level and ordered him to kick it, his mother and the little brother that died when they were children, that he always blamed himself for, they all showed up. And the mother said, no, you can't blame him for that because that didn't happen. You're not to blame for him dying and all this kind of thing here and stuff. And he turned around and said, I wish you were there for my career. They say we were always there because they was living inside of him. As a matter of fact, probably some of his talents come from them. You see what I'm saying? Comes from them. When you see this documentary on Earth, Wind, and Fire, with Maurice White, and he talks about how they wanted to get to a higher level and met up with a guy named Charles Stephanie, who came on board on the movie, on the album Open Our Eyes, with Mighty Mighty and True Devotion, and then the next album was with Shining Star, That's the Way of the World, which catapulted them into another level than just this basic soul group. And then they did Gratitude, which was big, and where you got Can't Hide Love, which is another world song. It's so simple, but it's so goddamn profound, the sound of it.
That's the anthem right there, boy.
And then they did Spirit, and then Charles Stephanie, while working with that, dies. He was the producer. He dies. He was co-producer with Maurice White. And then Maurice White said, Larry Dunn, who was the keyboard player with the big afro, he said he was at the keyboard when he passed, and he played some strange notes. And then Maurice White said, after he died, he said it was almost like he had a voice from the other side. He said, and the music went to even another level, and as a result, by that time, you get the famous album, All in All, with the Ramesses tomb and the pyramid on the cover and the whole layout on the inside with all the religions. So he went to another realm and stuff and all. So we're talking about Charles Stephanie and all became a part. He said it was almost like I had a voice from the other side. The shit was in him.
Right.
It's like the Highlander. He cut off the heads, all the energy go into the Highlander, and in the end can only be one. And the only reason why he gets better and better each time he has the quickening, because he has the talents of the damn ones he slayed. That's why I know that the tsunami, which killed 160, close to 160,000 souls, majority of them was indigenous people. You see what I'm saying? Even if they were Asian, they were somewhat closer to the indigenous than white folks if they'd hit Europe. But for a month, we could barely get to sleep. Rough, fighting in the sleep, dreams vivid, all kind of things, rough sleep and all. That's because all that energy has been sacrificed, and it makes us stronger. So every time a person dies, we become stronger. So the reason why we are conscious now is because we had a lot of black people die in gang warfare, diet, fucked up this, heart attacks, and just all the thousands of black men and all that just died from the last 15 years on up.
Right.
Just turmoil everywhere. Just killing and all that. We become stronger because of that.
Right.
That's the Highlander aspect.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Sucking up those souls. It's the same thing you saw in the first Mortal Kombat. The guy was sucking the energy up out of him, and when they killed him, all them spirits was up in him. Right. He gets strong and strong and strong and built upon that type of aspect and stuff. Yeah.